Do you think you truly know Savannah Guthrie? The polished co-anchor of the Today Show, the woman who greets America every morning with her radiant smile, incisive questions, and that effortless charm that somehow lightens even the heaviest news. For over a decade, she's been a trusted presence in our homes, interviewing presidents, sharing tender motherhood anecdotes, and weathering personal heartbreaks like her divorce, all with remarkable grace and resilience. But what if I told you that behind her perfect facade lies an extraordinary secret, one so tightly held it stretches back 3 decades, long before the NBC cameras framed her face? A secret so deeply buried that even her closest circle, her siblings, ex-husband, perhaps her own children, never suspected it. I'm not talking about tabloid-level scandals or sordid affairs. No, this is something far more layered, far darker. A hidden life Savannah carefully constructed over the years, even as she rose to fame. A second existence that has remained concealed until now. With her mother, Nancy's disappearance lingering for 10 agonizing days, the bloodstains on the porch, the eerily silent pacemaker, the enigmatic Bitcoin threats, Savannah's secret world is beginning to unravel. And it's not a kidnapper's ransom demand that set things in motion. It was a phone call, a call from someone who has always known the truth about Savannah's hidden life. Someone who shattered the image we thought we understood with revelations that change everything. It all began to come to light on a foggy February morning in 2026. Earlier today, as this is written, Savannah and her family were gathered in Tucson, their temporary headquarters wrapped in unease. A rented house near Nancy's empty home in the quiet Catalina foothills served as the nerve center of their search. Dawn found Savannah poring over tips and reports alongside her siblings, Annie and Cameron, working closely with Pima County detectives and FBI agents who had become an ever-present shadow in their lives. Outside Nancy's house, the crime scene tape waved eerily in the wind, a stark reminder of a nightmare that refused to loosen its grip. Despite their efforts, no new leads had surfaced since the previous day's missed deadline at 5 p.m. Volunteers scoured the desert scrub, drones hummed overhead, but the silence was deafening. There was no sign of an 84-year-old woman reliant on medication and a walker. At 8:30 a.m., Savannah's personal cell phone rang. She stepped outside onto the patio with the assumption that it was another update from authorities. Instead, a woman's voice, calm but urgent, greeted her on the other end. "Savannah, it's Elena. We need to talk about your mother and everything you've been hiding all these years." Savannah froze mid-step. Elena, a name she hadn't heard spoken out loud in decades, a name she'd erased from public memory, tied to a life so secret she believed no one could unearth its depths. Sources close to Savannah's family, individuals who overheard fragments of this conversation, confirmed its authenticity to me. They described Savannah's facade crumbling for the first time since Nancy vanished. Her tone shifted sharply into whispered tension as she hissed into the phone. "Not now, not like this. How did you even get this number?" But Elena pressed forward, undeterred. She spoke with razor-sharp precision, recalling dates from the early 1990s and referencing obscure details, places and events no one could possibly know unless they were part of the life. She mentioned a locket Savannah had gifted her years earlier, sealing the conversation with an undeniable implication. Nancy's disappearance wasn't random. "This is tied to us," Elena said flatly, "to what we built, and if you don't come clean, everything will fall apart." When Savannah hung up, her hands were trembling, pale, shaken to her core, but resolved to act. She ushered her siblings into a private huddle, no law enforcement agents allowed, to share a truth she had guarded for more than 3 decades, the truth about her double life. It all began when Savannah Guthrie, born Savannah Clark Guthrie in 1971, was just 16 years old. Back then, long before Today or NBC entered the picture, her life in Tucson seemed completely normal. She grew up in quiet suburban neighborhoods, attended public schools, and remained part of a loving yet tightly wound family circle. After her father's sudden death from a heart attack when she was just 16 years old, Nancy Guthrie became their anchor, raising Savannah and her siblings with tireless determination, faith, humor, and unwavering expectations. But beneath the ordinary surface of their lives lay an entirely different narrative, a shadowy reality few could have imagined, one that Savannah now knew could no longer stay buried. Joy was how Nancy faced hardships, steadfast and without complaint. For teenage Savannah, though, that resilience felt less like a foundation and more like an unbearable weight. Nancy's love was fierce but came with unyielding rules. Be strong, be independent, don't show weakness. In her household, emotions were private and image meant everything. Savannah thrived in that structure, earning straight A's, dominating debate team competitions, and securing her place at the University of Arizona. Yet beneath the polished perfection, she longed for something else: freedom, identity, and a life where she wasn't bound by the expectations of being the perfect daughter. That's when Elena entered the picture. Elena Ramirez, just 19 then, was an artist and activist in Tucson. She led a covert youth group, a safe haven for teens navigating their identities away from the suffocating judgment of their communities, in a time when being different often meant isolation or worse. In 1988, Savannah discovered the group by chance, noticing a flyer at school that promised a place to be yourself. Intrigued but apprehensive, she went. There, she met Elena, magnetic, fearless, and unapologetically queer in an unwelcoming town. Elena noticed in Savannah something extraordinary, buried deep under layers of expectation, a spark waiting to ignite. The two quickly connected, first as friends, then as much more. But this was the late 1980s, and with Nancy's strict household and Savannah's fear of disappointing her mother, their relationship had to remain secret. What began as rebellion morphed into something profoundly transformative. Elena introduced Savannah to an underground world, hidden art scenes, activist networks, and even whisked her into events using a fake ID. During these escapades, Savannah created Clark, her middle name, a freer version of herself. As Clark, she could write poetry, attend rallies, and live unchained from the relentless Guthrie rules. Even as Savannah excelled in college, law school, and eventually launched her journalism career, she maintained this dual existence. Weekend trips back to Tucson were not solely for family. Far from it. They were stolen hours in Elena's world, where Savannah shed the pretense demanded by her family. Nancy saw her daughter as driven and independent, a reflection of what she had worked so hard to instill. But beneath the surface, Savannah carried the weight of hiding her truest self. To Nancy, there was only one path to success: remain focused and unerring. To confess even a fraction of her double life, let alone reveal Elena, would have been devastating. So Savannah compartmentalized. Her connection with Elena deepened over the years, evolving far beyond teenage defiance. Elena offered safety, a confidant who knew who Savannah truly was beneath her polished exterior. Together, they dreamed of futures and shared their struggles. Savannah fearing failure under Nancy's towering expectations, Elena revealing her own family battles. As Savannah's journalism career soared to national prominence by the mid-2000s, eventually landing her at NBC, her double life endured in subtler ways. The visits to Tucson grew infrequent but emotionally intense. Elena had settled in a quiet suburb, teaching art classes and understanding the boundaries that came with loving someone who lived in two worlds. "Your mom made you who you are," Elena once told her with compassionate acceptance. "I'm grateful for the parts of you I get to have." But everything shifted with Nancy's sudden disappearance. The news shook their already precarious equilibrium. For years, Elena had quietly followed Savannah's successes from afar. Now she found herself glued to every update about Nancy's vanishing, piecing together fragments of information that pointed to connections neither had anticipated. Something from those early activist days, some distant grievance or dangerous misunderstanding tied to Clark's shadowy identity, might be resurfacing. Desperation drove Elena to act. "If I don't speak now," she warned Savannah over the phone, "the truth might die with me, or with your mother." Savannah's eventual confession to her siblings hit like a thunderclap. Voice trembling, she admitted that she'd been living two lives since she was 16, that Elena had always been a part of it, and that her secret life might somehow be tied to Nancy's disappearance. The air in the room turned heavy with shock. Annie broke the silence first. "Who is Elena? And how does this have anything to do with Mom?" Meanwhile, Cameron paced relentlessly across the room before muttering under his breath, "All this time, while we were growing up, while Dad was sick." Savannah found herself spilling everything: the underground meetings, Clark's creation as her alter ego, and the stifling fear of Nancy finding out. "Mom's love meant everything to me," she said through tears, "but it came with rules I couldn't break. Elena became my way out, separate identity." The revelations poured out that night as the family delved deeper into the tangled web of Savannah's hidden past. Secrets unraveled like loose threads, one after another. The fake ID Elena had helped her get at 18. The underground gatherings where Clark voiced views Nancy dismissed as distractions, moments that had never seen the light of day until now. A haunting memory surfaced from 1992, a protest against local policies where a man had threatened the group, vowing revenge. Elena had brushed it off back then, but now it felt ominous, with Nancy's home vandalized, void of a robbery motive, marked only by blood and absence. Connections seemed to stir uneasily beneath the surface. "I thought I buried that life," Savannah whispered, "but it followed me home." Annie and Cameron were stunned. The countless trips back to Tucson for work suddenly held a deeper meaning. Cameron's question broke the silence. "You were seeing her?" Savannah nodded slowly. "It was my escape from Mom's expectations. Law school, career, marriage. Elena let me be messy." The siblings erupted into a storm of emotions, hugging, crying, debating. It was Annie who voiced the truth they all felt. "Mom would be heartbroken," Cameron countered bitterly. "Or maybe proud you hid it so well." The irony cut deep. As midnight came, the FBI ushered Elena onto a plane to Tucson for questioning. Her account mirrored Savannah's almost perfectly. Neither claimed involvement, but carried years of suppressed worry. Yet with one call, Elena shattered 3 decades of secrecy, forcing Savannah to confront how her secret life, born from Nancy's unrelenting expectations, may have led them all into this nightmare. Day 10 dawned with families reeling. For the Browns, it was an agonizing wait. For the Guthries, a shift in understanding their mother's vanishing. What once felt like cracks in Savannah's polished surface now revealed an entire shadow self, a hidden life that threatened not only her family's perception of her, but offered clues to uncovering Nancy's whereabouts. But could Nancy's enduring love survive the weight of these truths? Would she ever come back for it to matter? These secrets exacted a heavy price. Elena had spent years in obscurity. Savannah had sacrificed pieces of herself. And now, Nancy seemed to have paid an unimaginable cost. As investigators turned toward Savannah's ties to Tucson activism, one undeniable reality emerged. The mask was off. Savannah, raw and human in her imperfection, stood exposed for the first time in decades. Elena's call, a seemingly simple action, had broken open a door Savannah had kept bolted for 30 years. By Tuesday afternoon, the rented house felt claustrophobic under the Arizona sun. The air hung heavy as Annie and Cameron sat across from Savannah at the kitchen table, the same table where maps and tip sheets had dominated their mornings since this ordeal began. Yellow tape surrounding Nancy's house loomed in the background through the window, an ever-present reminder that privacy was a luxury long lost. Savannah gripped a mug of untouched coffee, its chill echoing in her fingers. She looked smaller than she ever had, her commanding presence from television stripped away. The woman who had interviewed presidents and weathered divorce and motherhood under relentless scrutiny now carried the weight of a second life that could no longer remain hidden. Annie broke the silence first, her voice steady yet soft. "Elena, she was your escape from Mom?" From us? Savannah nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the mug in her hands. She was the only place I didn't have to be perfect. Mom wanted me strong, focused, unbreakable. Elena let me be scared, messy, angry, someone who could ask questions about herself without always having to answer the good daughter. Cameron shook his head and exhaled deeply, rubbing his face as his frustration surfaced. And you kept her hidden for 30 years. Even after everything, you got famous, married, had kids. Savannah's eyes filled but held back tears as she spoke with restrained emotion, especially then. The higher I climbed, the more Mom bragged. My Savannah did it. My Savannah made it. Every promotion, every award, every time I was on screen was proof to her that I'd lived up to her vision. If I told her about Elena, the person I really was, it wouldn't fit into her idea of success. She'd see me as a failure, as weak. Annie reached out and placed her hand on Savannah's with quiet reassurance. But Mom loved you. She loved all of us. I know she did, Savannah whispered shakily. She loved me so much she made me into someone who could survive anything. But part of surviving meant never letting her see what didn't fit her vision of me. Elena didn't fit. Cameron leaned back with, Savannah's journey is a powerful reflection on identity, love, and the weight secrets carry over time. She's beginning to confront the parts of herself she buried for decades in order to protect her mother and maintain the facade of perfection, a burden that has defined so much of her life. As Elena reappears, offering both emotional reconciliation and perhaps critical evidence tied to Nancy's disappearance, the story takes a turn into deeper mystery and personal reckoning. Savannah's struggle to acknowledge who she truly is, someone messy, vulnerable, and real, is strikingly human. Her transformation from the unyielding, perfect daughter to embracing her inner Clark reflects a universal challenge many face, balancing societal expectations while being authentic. Elena's presence acts as a catalyst, allowing Savannah to unpack that conflict and remind her that she was always worthy of love. As for Nancy's disappearance, the introduction of Ricky Torres hints at an activist-related motive from Savannah's secretive past. The circled name, the nearby sightings weeks before, and the old rally connections suggest unresolved tensions, or maybe retribution, that have come back after decades. While it's speculative at this point, the pieces suggest history catching up in ways Savannah never anticipated. Looking ahead, potential cracks in Savannah's polished exterior could open up avenues for emotional vulnerability and possibly deepen her connection with Annie and Cameron while they unify in their search for their mother. The FBI investigation might uncover layers of truth tied to both Nancy and Savannah's hidden past, but whether those truths will build bridges or create more fractures remains unclear. What do you think? Has Ricky Torres finally resurfaced as part of a grudge that puts Nancy at risk? Or could this spiral in entirely unpredictable directions? Share your theories below and stay tuned, because answers are coming soon.